Hey everybody, this is Rydo, and we're back to Shadow of the Tomb Raider. Reloaded the game, looked around a little bit, so probably not in the exact same spot, but close enough. Just wanted to make sure that as soon as I started walking around, we wouldn't just have a crash to desktop. Now weirdly, you are in this situation where I should take on this crypt, or move the story forward and just finish the move forward towards finishing the game. We're 2/3 of the way through. Inherently, if I am going to be doing all the crypts and things, I'm gonna have to fast travel back. It's just pretty obvious. And we've seen that in some of these places, in earlier spots, you needed to have the ability to fast travel because you wouldn't have had the items needed to open the door, the gate check for some of the tombs. On the other hand, let's just run over here and see the counter to that, which makes this whole system just confusing, in that if I want whatever this is, I have to do this challenge tomb, which means I have to find that challenge tomb, which means I need to get it as early as possible to get any real value out of it. Meanwhile, I guess we'll go ahead and craft that. So we're getting a bunch of secondary things we can craft for weapons that aren't really necessary. So that creates this weird situation where you are not wrong to potentially want to run over here, hunt a black wolf, find this document, find all these extra documents in this crypt, even though the crypt is not even one of the things that really matters. It doesn't really feel like this level can go too much farther. It's going to lead us into a line, from the looks of it, down this path and then down towards this mountain, and potentially we end up at this mountain at the very end of the game. So you're not wrong for potentially saying I don't want to deal with tombs until I have all the abilities, so I know I can actually collect all the tombs. And you're not wrong for saying I want to get all the tombs as quickly as possible, which you should be wrong for one of those two things. There should be clearly a better way to play this game.
The ink is badly faded. It's difficult to make anything out. Savage, outrageous, betrayal. And this isn't parchment paper. It's thicker. Animal hide or human, maybe.
Interesting. So yeah, there really should be a perfect way to play this game, in a way that you would be encouraged to play the game. You even get a little bit of that here in this case, where in survival mode, like, so stab in the neck, quick time event, 75 XP for doing that. And see, you have your instant healing ability. What in the world? There's just a whole bunch of dead corpses already here. So, doesn't really make a lot of sense. It felt like there was 3 of these wolves, and yet somehow I ended up only killing 2 of them. So we're getting like 7 wolf pelts, which that seems like quite a lot of wolf pelts for the way this game is gone. I definitely don't understand why this isn't just a fully scripted animation where you press or hold X once and then that happens. Yeah, there's nowhere to climb, nothing else to find in this wolf den. It was just to hunt those 2 wolves and seemingly also get the carcasses of foxes. Unless somewhere around here a wolf ran to the left or right. That's a great example too, where there really wouldn't have been a way to sneak in stealth or get a higher angle of attack on the best case scenario. I would have been able to focus time, which I don't think we even have the recipe to focus time. That potentially is one of the several challenge tombs that I skipped over. But I suppose if I could focus time, then I would at that point be able to slow down time and attack enemies. What am I supposed to be doing with this? Clearly I can see that there's something through there, but I don't have an X prompt. I don't have a way through. We see a document mentioned. It's right there. It'd be interesting, certainly, I guess, if there was a puzzle here where you're supposed to shoot through this. It'd be interesting, I guess, if we had some kind of explosive something that could break this, but you would almost certainly see a highlight on that case. There's some birds up there we could try and shoot. Gotta wait until they're really above. That was quite a lot of XP. Yeah, I'm not getting prompt condor feathers. 13 condor feathers. Like, all of a sudden it feels like the game has just gotten really crazy as far as just how many resources it's willing to let me collect. Maybe condor feathers have been around in a lot of other places and I've just missed them. See, that's where the wolf would have potentially come out of, but unless I was supposed to burn that open, which is not the case. That's not the path. Weirdly, you have this action, then you have some birds that probably should flop a lot more as far as just the way they're animated, and then it's just kind of standard walking back. In a lot of ways, this obviously is a section of the map that a lot of players would have not been heavily encouraged to check out. They would have just assumed when you loaded into the opening of the Abbey that you going backwards would have just taken you backwards in the story.
Did you see that? It was a condor. Magnificent birds.
I must have missed it.
Some people around here think they're a good omen, but they're just birds.
People like to think good things will happen.
And that's fine, as long as they don't put all their hopes in it.
So we now know that condors, I guess, spawn there, and it probably doesn't matter that we killed them. These rope fast travel things are free, so you might as well set them up even if they do disappear pretty easily. Think we've been down here. Weirdly, it seems like we can't get up any higher. Which, if they were going to kind of like gatekeep on the idea that you would slide on the mud, we are way too late in the game to introduce that as an idea. Now, obviously, this has been programmed in a certain way to fling you away from this. You just can't go this way, because as I'm jumping, it is flinging me very far in the other direction. And I guess you just probably would die if you fell down that way. Alright, so just colored me confused as to how to get the rest of those collectibles. I guess perhaps they did want you to walk back here to learn a little bit, then to find you can't actually get everything, and then you're going to have to come back at some later time. Maybe you'll have some, I don't know, mud cleat type shoes. So it does really leave me with the impression
Check out what I've got.
that your best case scenario is to probably skip all of the tombs except for challenge tombs. Perhaps on challenge tombs you can.
That's a good deal for both of us.
So eagle feathers and condor feathers. What do we not have a lot of? This.
Good deal.
I probably am getting into a point where I should stop selling those too. So I can't afford any of this. I could start buying salvage, but I'd only get like 40 pieces of salvage if I went down that path.
I'll be here if you want to deal somewhere.
Yeah, I really wish she had like a default run just when you pressed forward where she would speed up instead of having to potentially remember that you can hold the click the left stick to run, which is something I really have not been remembering. Yeah, the outfit I'm wearing right now has nothing to do with getting more resources from hides. I could be wearing this. Gain additional hide and fat from animals. And then on the top, maybe there's something that would give you more hides as far as a top outfit. And there very possibly is a DLC outfit that would maybe give you more hide and hides. Okay. So what can we upgrade? That one thing, because we don't have any salvage. And nothing else. Well, apparently we can also upgrade these. What is the value in upgrading multiple bows when you're really only going to use one bow? I have no idea. But we have resources, and before I just sell hides as resources, I should double check and upgrade things. Even the menu system here is getting out of control as far as just too many guns when you start adding the DLC, too many bows and arrows when you start adding the DLC. Like, clearly there was a desire here to have only 4 bows and only 4 handguns and only four automatic guns at most. Maybe 5. And I don't know if the carryover
Hi. I'm sure I can help you.
on like these weapons available for purchase, there might be 3 other weapons at other infrastructure places.
That's a good deal for both of us. Pleasure doing business with you, friend.
So I've gone out of my way now to buy extra salvage, which arguably throughout the game there should be more than enough salvage to never really need to do that. But who knows, they may be very well playing towards a new game plus mentality. Let's see. With the extra salvage, we're still lacking some stuff. Panther hides, I guess, in general. But we can upgrade weapons. I'm kind of looking to see if there would be like some kind of achievement for fully upgrading 10-20 weapons. It's very possible there really is only an achievement for fully upgrading like the very first weapon. It does really give the feeling that a new game plus might be very boring in that you'll be encouraged just to upgrade things you would never use. And some of that definitely comes back down to just the pay to win nature. The odds are extremely low that I would ever have enough encounters with base camps to swap the weapons around to try each weapon out. And it definitely feels like some of these weapons should be given to you in like a new game plus for fun. That you are trying for more of like a Resident Evil 4 type experience when on the second playthrough. That being said, it really doesn't work and make sense in this game because this game is not Resident Evil 4. You're just not having those highly polished encounters of I think you probably want a higher rate of fire, if anything, on your handgun. Because you're going to have to pull the trigger a lot. But yeah, that really is all Resident Evil 4 is it is a lot of rooms and encounters of where enemies will walk in and where they'll be placed. In an example, Resident Evil 4, you would walk into this area, there would be like somebody sniping you from the roof, and then there'd be people walking this way, and maybe another wave of people would come this way, and you would have to run for cover and start to shoot people, maybe somebody up on that roof too. Whereas in this case, there are no enemies in this area at all, and we've never had encounters like that. Every encounter in this game is a stealth encounter that once you fail that stealth encounter, you can then shoot your way free as a make good for your poor playing. But it is nothing more than just a make good for your poor video game playing. And that's true in Resident Evil 4 also, is that you would potentially want to strategically take out enemies from as far a distance away as safely as possible, and then once that eventually failed, you would just start pulling out your assault rifles and faster shooting guns to clear and spray and pray with bullets. So we're going to move the main story forward.
A secret crypt.
Why secret? If Lopez is involved, there's bound to be a trick.
That's a solid theory. What about you? Did you find anything?
I got a pamphlet. 7 steps closer to God.
Who knows? Maybe it'll help.
It's funny, they're making me...
Strange there are only 7 stations. This must be based on an older tradition. Jesus takes up the cross, falls the first time, meets his mother. Then Veronica wipes his face before he falls the second time. Then he is crucified and finally entombed.
This is funny how this folds out. It's like your number 1, and then number 2 and number 3, then number 4, and then number 5. The way this potentially would fold up would have some of these pictures upside down. I doubt there's anything special you're supposed to find out here. But I also don't understand why it seems like there's more pictures here. It seems almost like there's just 2 of them on top of each other.
I'll wait here for you.
Well, at a certain level, I guess that is just straight up introducing more collectibles. Now, we had this side quest, and now it's disappeared because maybe we started the main quest. Here, no, here's the side quest character.
I care about respect for the dead. Watch out! She's going to cast a spell on us.
See, this is a DLC quest giver. Explore the local mysteries, travel the cemetery. So I guess that means talk to this character. Let's do it. We might as well start the quest.
Imagine.
I'm sorry?
I'm a herbalist, a shamefully unrecognized branch of medical science. And that child's grandmother was a dowser. The things people ignore that are right in front of their noses.
Some people are afraid to believe in what they can't understand.
Ha! You sound like Isa.
Isabella, the archaeologist. You know her.
A smart girl, a good researcher, and unafraid to admit there are things she doesn't know. She's the one who broke the cross, by climbing on it. I don't know what was in her head. I tried to stop her, but she was very upset about something, angry and full of grief at the same time.
Do you know where she is now? I'm looking for her.
So the
I
side
don't
quest
know.
is just looking for this
After
lady.
the cross broke, she ran away, but I didn't see which direction. In the state she was in, I knew better than to try to interfere with her. I'm sorry.
That's all right. You've given me more information than I had. Do you need some help with
Barely.
this cross?
I do. But first we have to get those children out of the way. It isn't safe for them to be running around while we work. That blind trickster filled their heads with tales of treasure, and they think I mean to steal it.
I'll talk to them.
So we're gonna have to talk to kids to allow them to get out of the way. I imagine what they're planning on doing here is having some of these like doorways potentially lead to DLC sections, and potentially there was an original version of this game in which there was just a wall here and they added a door. I suspect that in some of the other locations you would see paths open up to lead to DLC tombs. There is also a weirdness in that conversation that was invoked in me, where it feels like here you're talking to people that are on the same level of respect, for lack of a better term, with Lara Croft, and whereas there is this weird, you're almost like talking down to the Hidden City people because they feel like they're just old-fashioned, because they are, and that they're backwater hillbillies would be the equivalent in the United States. And even in Quackalakur, it felt like those people were impoverished enough, so they just didn't feel like they're on the same level, where it feels like here Lara Croft could be on equal terms with the characters. Although, in fairness, if Lara Croft was depicted in this reboot series as being rich, she still would be kind of above, at least financially speaking, the people here. And even here, yeah, this poor mission in South America, in Peru, nowhere as much money as Lara Croft, who can afford airplane tickets all over the place and expensive hiking gear and such.
Hey, get away from here. It's our treasure.
It's getting quite late. How about postponing the hunt until tomorrow?
No, we're not leaving till we find it.
We'll sleep here if we have to.
Oh, I hope it doesn't come to that. Is there anything I can do to help?
No, we told you. You're not getting our treasure. Manu said if we find it, we can keep it.
That's a shame. The sisters told me you were very good at sharing, and I do know a lot about treasure hunting.
You know the sisters?
She could tell on us.
I won't tell if you won't tell. I have a secret too. I'm the brave adventurer Lara Croft.
Whoa. We won't tell. You can
So
help
apparently
us.
her name means
If you
something.
find the treasure, we'll split it even.
You've got a deal. What do you need?
Manu told us we need to solve a riddle to find the treasure.
Are you any good at riddles?
I'm an expert. Let's hear it.
I want you to take my supply.
I'm nourished when the heavens cry.
If I get sick, a village dies.
Who am I?
Okay. So we have a real puzzle here, and we have interesting interaction of Lara Croft for kids. This really should have probably happened somewhere around Quackalaku at the beginning, or even in Cozumel at the very beginning. It would definitely have softened the edges on Lara Croft a little bit, and it's odd that you have to have like the DLC Deluxe Edition to even do this mission. Now, as for the puzzle, it's, unless I'm completely confused, it would be this well. Alright. Wells get.
Looks like there's something here. Fool's gold and costume jewelry. But the kids will love it.
That gives us a level. Yeah. So they made up a fake treasure hunt for them. And then they were thinking it was here where this cross fell over.
So did you find anything?
I sure did. Look at this.
We're rich. Hold on, hold on. We said everyone gets an equal share, so...
Oh no, I couldn't possibly accept any of your treasure.
You mean it?
Absolutely.
I knew it right away when I saw you. I said there's a real hero.
Please, please, it was nothing. I only did what any reasonable person would do.
Thanks for finding the treasure. We're going to show it to Manu.
I don't know how you got Diego and the rest of those kids out of the way, but I'm glad you did. Now we can get to work.
Now, do I have to talk to her again? Like, seems like I do.
Where should we start?
Over this way.
So it's just a cutscene of raising the cross. And that's the way you're going to do it, is just have an old lady and a young lady lift it back up.
I'm worried about her. I wish I knew why Isabella was trying to climb the cross. Maybe something about the cross can show you where Isa went.
Like, clearly, if something fell down like that, you would want to look at the foundation, probably lay a stronger, newer foundation, just like a concrete pad, then put lifting straps around the cross and lift it with 4 or 5 men, if not machinery, if you have it, to put it on a new foundation. Then you very possibly would have the debate about whether or not you would want to repair the cross and the concrete around it, which I think, since it is a cemetery, there's a higher argument to repair it and maybe lose some of the historical value out of respect than there is to leave it as is. Otherwise, if you're trying to only have historical value, you would take the cross and put it in a climate-controlled museum display somewhere, like in the building or across the world even. You just wouldn't push it back over, because inherently if you just push it back up, next time somebody could push it back down again. So I assume maybe we'll see something.
There's an inscription. Look through me to find the way.
Yeah, again, seems like there's some puzzles here. I don't think you're really supposed to jump. Kind of the problem here, though, is you could look through this in any different direction. I guess also you could look this direction. Yeah. Having only one circle, there's way too many different ways you can look through it. Let's see if talking to this lady does this.
I wish I knew why Isabella was trying to climb the cross.
Okay. So you look through them and you could see the way here. You look through here. There would have to be a second cross. There, and there is. So I'd assume it's that direction, but weirdly,
Let me know when you're ready to go.
then you have other crosses the one up there. Then you follow the
There's
other
next
crosses.
cross.
So you were just supposed to follow these. Of course, your hidden resources, your survival instinct is going to make that fairly easy. Although, noticeably looking through here, it's going to point you in that direction. And there aren't any crosses over in this direction. But then there's another cross this way. And did you really need any of this, or are you just walking towards where the green circle is?
I can see another.
I had already taken notice of these crosses, as they do visually stand out quite a bit. So the effort of shiny reflective surfaces
I can see another.
had already created that scenario where I was paying attention to it. Now I don't see a cross here. But I do see one way over there.
There's the next cross.
And that's like exactly what I said, is that it would be cool if there was some way to look
Looks like there's something here.
I was not expecting that to refill that fast. But you're getting massive amounts of experience from that, too. If they were going to respawn that much, then that quickly, it would make a lot of sense to booby trap. Wow, I am straight up full on those hides after doing all that crafting. The Jaguar Panther den did not respawn in that way. Remember, we marked that document earlier and it's still marked.
Wait, I can push this.
So it's an interactive switch, which this game has had no interactive switches in the main game at all.
Hello?
The game really would have benefited from more interactive switches, though, and more puzzles
When
like
I
that.
first laid eyes on Angel de la Cruz, I knew I met a man of worth. When he spoke, my heart shook. Its tremors vibrated for days after his first sermon. That evening, God himself told me to set out to prove I was the chosen one. I left the next morning, seeking to prove my worth.
So, tests for chosen ones. I'm just going to press downward here. Press the B button to fall. This is an interestingly rather bright section, when usually we run into extremely dark sections like this, which you would expect that the flashlight would kick on at some point.
Isabella! Are you in here?
Now, it's not Isabella that is seeking to prove herself to be the chosen one. It's somebody else from the past. We're just happening to follow the same path. So, the game Not sure I'm going the right direction here. It's just water, so we can fall down there. Anyways, the game has added crypts with the deluxe edition content, which does really imply that there is a rather different experience you could have if you didn't buy the deluxe edition, if this entire crypt was missing without the deluxe edition content. But if anything, I think that probably just highlights that the original version of this game, or the non-deluxe edition of this game, would have been unfinished and missing in content. Perhaps there is too much content overall in the game.
Thank God.
Let's do our standard Indiana Jones thing and collect the artifacts before we talk to the lady. The very non-human thing. Let's see. Hunting increases the wearer's experience. Interesting. So that's just an outfit that we're not really getting any numbers on how these things work. Weirdly, it does look like there's something up there. One thing about talking to those kids is it does create an interesting thought as far as what Lara Croft, or a character like Lara Croft, could be in a reboot. If Lara Croft was not a full fraud, but partially a fraud, and she started her career as more of a live streamer, somebody who's going on talk shows, interviewing, raising her own profile and celebrating herself, and she really is just like the figurehead of a corporation. And yes, sometimes she does go on adventures, but often they're very safe and she's surrounded by security, and usually she's just in there for the photo op instead. And then you rebooted the series going, okay, now you've really found something important. You've figured out Trinity or some other evil organization. You really have to become the adventurer that you are only half pretending to be. Or you could even say she is the real adventurer, but she also has to fund her research, and the way she funds her research is through her oddly high amount of beauty and by going on talk shows. She could be a lobbyist, certainly, for her own company or another company, and lobbying for certain things. You could have even an arc where she realizes that she's like lobbying for Big Oil or something, and she realizes that Big Oil has been lying to her and destroying sites, not preserving them like they were claiming.
There you are.
Yes. You could at least give her more backstory.
Who are you?
Whereas
Guillermo sent me to find
my
you.
understanding
He's
of her
worried about
backstory from the first game and the reboot is that she was
Probably
barely
killing himself with guilt,
a
too.
research assistant for a professor.
I guess we were both right.
And so she doesn't
There was
really
a
have
hidden crypt,
much
and
going
I
on
did
with
have
her
an
life
idealized view of what
at the
it would be
beginning of
like.
this rebooted series. She's just like a
How
college
did you
girl.
injure yourself?
I was on a rope when the tremor hit. The shaking threw me into the walls, the rope snapped, and I hit the water badly. I think my ankle's broken.
It's
In
a
order
little
to get you out,
cowboyish
I'll have to
with
go
the
out for
hat, but
help.
that's
It'll
fine.
take several people.
It'd be crazy if a lot of characters had that.
What's so funny?
Can one of those people be Sarah? I'd love to see the look on her face when she has to admit that one of Manu's fantastic stories turned out to be true.
I'll suggest it to Guillermo. Now, I don't think I can get out the way I came in, so I'm gonna have to look for another way out.
Yeah.
I'll be right back.
And I'll be right here.
Now, noticeably, I'd assume that my healing herbs probably have some painkiller element to them. So it would have been nice for Lara Croft to hand her some healing herbs. And okay. So it would seem almost like you would push the statue, or that you would break this, that you would, obviously you're going to get over there at some point to reach that. I guess we're doing that by crawling down here. Game not doing a really good job of pointing you in a direction other than just locking you in an area until you find it. It doesn't make a lot of sense that that kind of mural would be here.
May Huascar's knowledge of the two afterlives be sufficient to guide us, if we arrive in either.
And it looks like there's a crack that way, and it looks like there is a booby trap this way.
In preparation for the ultimate test, I have begun to explore the crypts and tombs found near the mission. They are challenging and dangerous, and I am slowly improving. My reflexes are quicker, I'm getting stronger, and I dare say my eyesight in the dark is improving. I know there are others trying to prove their worth to Brother de la Cruz, but they will not best me.
See, I wonder if that's kind of a reference to, I don't remember how you're supposed to break this. Is it a shotgun glass? I guess it is. It felt like the third or fourth Tomb Raider game had this RPG element where Lara Croft would say, I feel like I'm getting stronger after doing very specific actions. Not really just getting XP and getting stronger or anything like that. And they were fairly arbitrary in their actions. So, of course, I'm getting stronger is also just a generic phrase. Wow, there's a lot of relics and documents around this area. A lot of places where it feels like you should just be able to Assassin's Creed climb up and climb and reach places, and it's just not the case. I guess we're probably wrapping around in a circle, in like a spiral, to get to verticality. Although that's oddly 2 crawl spaces. Assume this is the believer's last words. Or last journal.
I was not worthy. Forgive me for my hubris.
So, my question here is definitely going to come down to whether this is the only tomb, because this is really just DLC stuff. Seems like you could go back down that way, but that may be a place we've already been also. Nope. There are spikes down there. With the ray tracing, the spikes should be incredibly shiny. It would make all the sense in the world for them to glisten and glitter and reflect. Do we have to go back and collect things? No. Yeah, it really makes no sense that there would be this extra crawl space. Other than they kind of wanted a surprise here. We'll go forward this time.
Was that you? It was me. Don't worry. I have returned from my training. However, Brother de la Cruz has disappeared. The sisters of the mission have no idea where he went. No matter. I will wait for him to return. My heart is pure. My head is clear. I am ready for the trials, and I will prove to him I am the chosen one.
See, to me, it seems like the idea here would be that there would be a much bigger storyline-based challenge here, and that the DLC
on the right path. The air is getting fresher.
Don't tease me. I've spent the night in a crypt.
Yeah. I would hope that this is just an amended extra bit of tomb and not, say, a replacement. Alright, we'll take a little bit of a risky jump here and see what's on this side. Yet another collectible, far too many things. A wheel-lock pistol.
Never mass-produced and banned in the Holy Roman Empire. Ostentatiously decorated, a bit much for a missionary, but maybe a fitting weapon for an egoist such as Lopez. There's some damage to the pommel, but otherwise the weapon seems in fine condition.
I would care about finding these collectibles considerably more if there was some kind of museum element on the main menu even to show this off, which is funny because that's exactly what like Indiana Jones and what was it, not the Impossible Machine, the game after that, The Last Emperor or something, something like that was the name of the game that I just played before this. But yeah, in that menu, every collectible you find in a level is highlighted on the menu on the shelf. Obviously there's considerably fewer collectibles in that older game. I think probably if I check the timelines, the Tomb Raider games that came out at around the same time that Indiana Jones and the Impossible Machine and whatever the other Indiana Jones game that came out of that was called, you would still think that the Tomb Raider games were considerably better, more polished, better designed. Okay, that's an interesting glitch. So floating arrows, even though the arrow has despawned now, is still there. Like, because I am bumping into it. Am I just supposed to... Interesting. So we still have the floating arrow. That pulled out our gun. Our gun is at 50 bullets and yet I could reload it. And that brought me into a scripted section. And now I am going to have to potentially reload a checkpoint because I am stuck. Alright. Wow. That's quite the reload. How many collectibles did we? Seems like we have everything still. It's crazy to be introduced to the idea of booby traps 2/3 of the way through the game. Unless the 66% completion that the game marks on the save file is really not 66% of the entire story as much as it's potentially a 66% of collectibles. We're getting this automatic time slowdown element, which I just don't think in the main game we've really unlocked. So let's walk forward this time, and then see what this does. I find it weird that you push those switches inward, but even at that we really are only using those switches a couple times. That's weird to have a window just so you know to look around the corner.
That I am not the chosen one. Now I fear I have endangered the lives of Brother de la Cruz and the Sisters of the Mission. They do not know that the hollow earth surrounding the mission is home to demons, cruel, hissing creatures with twisted claws and sick, yellowed eyes. I came to this place to purge them from the world, in the name of Angel de la Cruz, to win his favor and earn my seat at his side. But I have failed. I could not contain this evil, and now it is out, and all warning of it will die down here with me.
Now it seems strange if that would be anything other than the pygmy warriors we've already seen, that all of a sudden we would have just some other kind of creature, humanoid-like creature. Gonna just jump and swing.
Isabella, I see daylight. You'll be out of here in no time.
You're amazing. Thank you so much.
It's interesting in any game when you're just talking to people that are off screen, but it's not the worst thought in this case. It's probably a pretty bad place to have that kind of one-way door. Like ideally you'd want more of a secret door or something that you wouldn't see from the other side. In a lot of ways, Skyrim kind of did that pretty well, that you would create these tombs and wander around, and then there would be a secret door that was a shortcut to the exit. So now we just have to leave her there and go get help, which is to pretty much say that Lara Croft probably won't be part of the help team. Or if they were going to do that, they would need to show just like an animation. I guess the question to ask is, will there be any animals in this den yet again? It feels like maybe it was scripted so you would be attacked by the animals that time. And all the corpses have despawned. Yeah, for characterization it makes sense to have Lara Croft be in a cutscene sending for help. but for gameplay reasons, you wouldn't want to have her gather health and then have to lead them to the tomb and then do more actions. Here's the guy we're supposed to talk to.
Please tell me Isabella's okay.
She is, but she's hurt her ankle, so we'll have to go back and get her.
So I guess technically she isn't.
I could not stand to inconvenience you any further. And besides, Sarah tells me you have something important of your own to do. Please, let Isa's friends take care of her from here.
You'll need a couple of people and a lot of rope to get her out.
I'll round them up right away. Where is she exactly?
Take the main road across the river, then follow the crosses.
Wait, the crosses? Did she find something?
She found the crypt Manu told her about.
She did? That's wonderful. Oh, I'm so happy for her. I should have gone with her, and I feel terrible about her ankle. But despite that, this is the adventure Isa's always dreamed of.
Ankle or leg?
She also suggested that maybe Sarah could be a member of her rescue party.
Oh, that's a great idea. I'll make sure of it. And speaking of Manu and his crazy stories, if you're looking for something hidden around here, you should probably talk to him. He worked for Isa. He's usually hoarding code around the mission. And thank you again for finding Isabella. I don't know what I would have done if...
Just make sure she gets back safe.
So now we have more DLC and we got 500 gold, which is actually quite a lot of gold. And so we have potentially Manu pointing us in other directions to get other collectibles, or he'll just give us general hints to other smaller caches of resources. Let's see what he actually has to say. This is just more of the DLC side quest stuff.
You must be Manu.
Who's that? Who's there?
She's the one who found the treasure.
Is that right, Diego? Well, what can I do for you?
He's actually
I
blind.
overheard you telling the children about Maya ruins.
Finally, someone who pays attention.
Well, you were right about the crosses. Isabella followed them to a hidden crypt.
Ha! I knew it, I knew
A lot
it.
of distracting
No one ever
AIs
listens
in
to
the
old Manu,
background.
but I was right.
So you were. And I bet you're telling the truth about those Maya ruins.
I recognize something in your voice. The thrill of discovery, of finding something, some place unseen for hundreds or even thousands of years.
There is something thrilling about that, isn't there?
There's no feeling like it. The taste of stale, dusty air still gets my heart racing. These modern people, these so-called realists, they close themselves off from such wondrous possibilities. They can't even imagine some of the things I've seen. That I would give anything to see again one last time.
Perhaps
Remember,
I can
this
your
could
eyes,
be in
the
Spanish,
witness of those Maya ruins.
which
good at
it would have
that,
been a
yes.
lot harder to
Do you
follow.
remember where the ruins were?
Now, where were they? I remember a pool fed by 3 waterfalls. I wish I could give you better directions, but it's been so many years.
What they
I
should
be
do
able to find it, and
is
when I
they
do,
should
I'll come
have
back
the
and tell you
background
all about
characters in
Oh,
two
if you
different
could do that for me.
classes,
Touch
categories
the
of loot.
history.
One
would-
should be
I would be so...
idle in the same
it. Say no
place.
more, Manu. I'll
Another
find it.
should be walk from point A to another place. Like, a lot of these characters obviously are in idle animations that will never walk away. This guy is just going to work on this engine. This nun and this guy are just going to sit here and stand. That's not distracting. What's distracting is when you have the 1 out of every 5th character that is walking to a chair, sitting down, doing an idle animation for a little bit, then standing up, then walking to another location. All of that is movable, is probably what you would label it as. Should be toggled off when you're in a cutscene. Or just despawn those characters from visibility, turn them invisible. So it's not distracting. And it's not just this one guy either. There was another nun from this camera angle that was wandering around. So he's given me a hint to probably a tomb I've already been to, as far as I can tell. And the quest says to return to Manu. Maybe I've already done that tomb, so maybe I'm just supposed to talk to him.
I hope you've shined up those dancing shoes, Manu. I found the ruin. It was Maya, an ancient aqueduct. It was wonderful, just as you'd imagined.
The writing in this DLC interactions feels way better.
Tell me everything.
Of course, storyline wise, she should be full of rage and angry at this point, not bristling with excitement finding a ruin. It'd be nice if that was just her default attitude throughout the entire game, but that's not really what they've been going for with Shadow of the Tomb Raider.
Incredible. What else?
It must have been an aqueduct of some kind, and you'll never believe this. Most of the machinery is still functional.
It would almost make sense to remake the world in the first gameplay playthrough, and then remaking the world, unlock the extra DLC tombs only in the second playthrough,
Taste it. You've brought tears
or
to an old man's
a
dry
post-credits, post-game
eyes.
element where the world gets remade. It doesn't really need to be a second playthrough.
Manu, I couldn't.
Please, I insist. It's the first relic I ever found. It's beautiful and intricate. A decorated skull. I'd like someone who has the same passion for exploring that I did as a young man to have it.
Would make a lot
Don't
more
ever let
sense in
anything
this
kill your
world,
sense of
where you
curiosity and
have
wonder.
treasure hunters like this still in modern times,
I won't.
to
Thank you, Manu.
have Lara Croft bump into more of those people. So that seems like that got me
An adhesive
more
made of
resources.
tree sap and powdered bone hold the jade and other gems in place within the wearer's teeth. A crude drill, perhaps made of obsidian, would have been used to delicately carve out the notches required to hold the jewelry in place.
Now, you don't really have a great way of looking at that. And that, as an item, doesn't really match the other items. Weirdly, that gave me like +1 XP and +1 skill point. Seems almost like the game is intentionally trying to save me from becoming overpowered.
I'm sure you will be satisfied. Good deal.
Right. These condor feathers don't
That's
seem
a good
like
deal for both of us.
there's too much for me to really do with them. And this black-eyed wolf doesn't seem like there's too much for me to do with them. So I either could buy more salvage and upgrade more things, or I could buy another gun. Let's get one of these rate of fire guns, I guess.
Good deal. I'll be here if you want to deal somewhere.
So it seems like he was really giving us just directions towards things you may have missed. We have 3 skill points. And what would we like? Poison grenades is one more thing you could craft. And that effectively stops you from having any other thing that be uncraftable. And then that leaves you potentially spending the rest of your skill points with just the warrior path, and then filling in things that generally I don't think really care too much about. Recovering arrows, for instance. We did Get a new outfit. Gains XP from hunting animals versus XP from stealth. I guess if you really wanted to get XP, hunting animals would probably give you more XP. Mineral and crafting resources. I think salvage makes a lot more sense. Gain more of that. Because we are running low on salvage. Then we have this new shotgun, which I guess we can use what little salvage we had to upgrade. And that's it. So yeah, another costume change. If Lara Croft was a male character, 100% you would not have the costume change element in the game. It would be a maybe slight equipment change at most, but probably not even that much. It's interesting, she just has this tiger's tail hanging on her belt for no reason. And if we talk to this guy, what happens here?
I hope you've shined up those dancing shoes, Manu. I found the ruin. It was Maya, an ancient aqueduct.
Can I skip this?
Just as you'd imagined.
I knew you would. Now, tell me everything.
The ruins had flooded because of the earthquake. I swam through tunnels.
So now I can't talk to him, so I don't know why I could talk to him before a second time. Well, I guess I was wrong. You have a nun walking around, and this looks like this is a different character, and this might be a different character. Seems like it despawns the skins of characters and puts them in different positions. Although we can see this nun was stuck in her pathfinding. Part of the problem with the idea that they need the kids to move away while they're working on moving the cross that was knocked over ignores the fact that the rest of this village is just constantly getting repaired after this earthquake, and the kids are very dangerously close. Like, at any point something could fall and bounce and hit these kids in the head. Alright, moving the story forward now, since we've spent about 3 hours avoiding moving the story forward. I assume we're going into this area, and by the looks of the map it is going to be a kind of platforming building where it's going to be the closest to being inside of like the Croft Manor.
Jonah, I feel something. We're getting close. Let's look around for signs of Lopez.
So, am I supposed to break the walls, or am I breaking the walls to find secrets? Interesting idea.
And under his wings you may seek refuge. Under his wings. And under his
we can look at it twice, but we almost certainly aren't going to get another 50 XP. So it's a kind of a puzzle in the story mode.
These notes were written by the founder of the 67. They're talking about funds allocated for renovations to the library.
A heron and an eclipse.
It's missing component. So we're just supposed to we're going to find all these journals.
December, 1603.
This is going to be
It has been 4
slow.
days since we turned away from the city. We traveled in silence and in circles, guided by a confusion of grief, relief, and celebration. Lopez and I exited the jungle and landed in a clearing, under the gaze of several faces carved into the side of the mountain. Lopez had an episode, as he later called it. He threw himself in front of the faces and screamed for forgiveness. The heaviest sin on his heart was abandoning Perez to the strange warriors. They had grown close over the journey. Try as I might, I could not console him, so I built a fire and waited, as he decreed his actions and pleaded for forgiveness from the silent stone faces.
So, the thing here is that modern game makers are terrified of disappointing a player. Whereas the player they're terrified of disappointing would be the type of player that just wouldn't be interested in OCD collecting every document in a building like this. Whereas it would make a lot more sense to have you need at least this one time to find each part of these documents and then assemble these different pages of documents into a single longer story that could be read aloud in a cutscene. Instead, we're just having the very standard experience in which the game is going to have me find individualized documents that are going to be between 1 sentence and 3 paragraphs, and then pause all other game progression as they read that aloud. Like, each of these journals should just be journal entry 8, journal entry 9, and then they could say, it's all scrambled, I need all the pieces to read it.
Screwed across his face. He came toward me, arms outstretched, and for a moment fear flickered across my heart. But he pulled me close, his fingers digging into my shoulders. I found it, he whispered in my ear, and releasing me, he wandered through this room, walls of pure jade reaching up to the heavens, completely covered in intricate etched mosaics and carved figures. I followed at a distance as he approached an altar, and watched as he lifted a silver box from it.
So yeah, it definitely feels like the story in itself is not even going to be told in the appropriate order, depending on how you collect things.
The others are worried that Brothers de la Cruz and Serrano will not return. I have so far maintained they will, that they always have. But in my heart I am beginning to believe we have seen the last of them, and that grief weighs heavily. We will continue their work. Either they will return to find we have not forgotten the teachings, or they will look down on us from above and bless our continued labors.
Yeah. Certainly you could also depict the same story a different way, in which you collect all the journals and then Lara Croft sees in her imagination a hologram type recreation of the events in this area. Definitely feels like this section here is leading to something, and we can't shoot things. Although we can certainly break things. This is really highlighting the unnecessary 3-button press action.
This cross, it looks like it's from the 17th century.
Kind of feels like you would maybe put the cross here and then reflect the light in several different directions towards something else. We are decreasing the number of documents, but seems like the rest of them are going to be on the second floor. Jonah contributing very little here, which is fine. You really wouldn't want him solving the puzzle for the player. This is a very different style of building. And I guess the question would come about as to what could you do with a style of building like this? Could you have Trinity show up and have to stealth through this and kill all of Trinity without sounding an alarm? Probably could, and then that would be a welcome bit of action.
26th of December, 1603. Lopez woke me, having already prepared a Spartan breakfast. This is where we were meant to be, he said, a cold determination in his voice, so very different from how he acted just the day before. I finished my meal as he spoke of holy retribution, how he had acted in error, but now God had put his hands on his shoulders and shown him the path to walk. We will spread the true word of God from this small mission, he said, pointing to an adobe building just beyond the stone faces. We will prepare the path for the chosen one to follow, for only he who does will be worthy of this box.
He didn't say she, even though it's pretty obvious Lara Croft is going to be the chosen one.
Jonah, this book describes a stranger's arrival at the mission. He
I wasn't expecting that to start a cutscene.
We must be getting close. We should keep looking.
Well, it would make a lot of sense if all of these collectibles had done cutscenes like that.
John, son of Zebedee, one of Jesus' apostles, also called the beloved disciple. He and his brother James were known for their impetuousness and temper, which prompted Christ to start calling them Boanerges, sons of thunder. John is credited with writing 5 books of the New Testament, the Gospel of John, the 3 epistles of John, and the Book of Revelation. He's the patron saint of love and loyalty, as well as writers, publishers, and scholars. One of his symbols is a serpent in a cup, which is linked to his patronage of victims of poisoning and burns.
So, kind of useful information as far as the hint towards the heart of the serpent is in the cup. Can we just jump and reach areas? Yes, we can. How many collectibles are left? Only 3.
This roughly drawn sketch shows St. John repelling a demon attack. Perhaps they plan to have this as one of the frescoes in the mission.
Noticeably, they didn't actually draw the sketch. So when they just remodeled this library, they painted over a bunch of this.
The sun will be darkened, and the moon will not give its light. Jonah, those 2 Bible quotes. The sun will be darkened, and under his wings you may seek refuge.
What does it mean?
That's it. Look for a heron and an eclipse.
We already found the heron in the eclipse. It was really easy to find. Make a lot more sense that walking here would be the end of the road. So we have one more document over here. Even for the revelations of the important story, we're getting speed bumps with secondary story that just doesn't matter.
Arrived, and Sister Dorothea had been ill for many weeks. He and his associate began to work that first day. By the next week, De La Cruz had recruited a workforce of 36. They had prepared the bell tower and worked the fields, planting crops. Brother De La Cruz aims to make us self-sufficient. We'd spent so long alone out here, I'd worried we'd lose God's ear. Lo and behold, we not only had his ear, but he sent another to act as his hands as well.
So we are at like 91% complete as far as this mission, as far as collectibles go. Knowing that we dropped the ball on one relic here and survival cache there, and we'd have to potentially fast travel to go and collect that. And this is full up, so maybe condors have respawned. We could go back and hunt some more condors. And this is full up, so maybe the Empress Jaguar has respawned. We haven't gotten this monolith found. And it just doesn't look like there's too much otherwise in this area. So very clearly what they're going for here is the idea of filling in not these side missions, which we actually really didn't have any for these missions, but in this case they're having us go down and fill in all of this narrative, which, yeah, if you really cared about the narrative in this story, it almost makes more sense to get a 100% completed save file, then do a New Game Plus, so that you could come to like the Rebellion of Paitini and then go through all of this story in a chronological order and hear it and read it. We are getting skill points for each time we fill in each one of these artifact sections to 100%, which by the looks of it means there's about 20 or 30 skill points on the table, although seemingly you could get skill points by doing other things too. But yeah, you're getting this story complete animation. And we're always finding 6. No subtitles there. Interesting. And we're getting like 6 gold bars, which I think that probably just highlights that gold bars themselves are undervalued in this game. They could be twice as valuable pretty easily. Scrolled poem.
Stone faces weep as Jesus creeps along the dolorous path. Too many died, more will still, and more will still, and more will still. His light leads the way.
Okay. Well, we can't break this, and if anything, maybe this is supposed to just be a red herring to point you down that direction, although the game really doesn't want you to jump down that direction because it is putting these hard sections here. It kind of feels like something should be reflecting here. See a little bit of light that way. Then we see light over here, and there's nothing there, and there's really no light over here. This was obviously it. Just the difference now is that really is going to let me break it, which it wouldn't have let me do that before. Now with Lara Croft and these exotic like outfits that are frankly cheesy, Jonah really highlights and contrasts the ridiculous outfit she's wearing.
The silver box. It's unmistakable.
Jesus takes up the cross. These are the stations of the cross. But there's a bunch much missing.
Before 1600, there were only 7. This could date back to the time of Lopez.
There's a real assumption here that the player would know the Stations of the Cross,
It's the kind of thing he does.
which,
All right.
if you're
See
not
if we can find a
Catholic,
cross line around here somewhere.
I think there's a decent chance you won't know the Stations of the Cross. And I will fully admit,
How do we get the key?
I don't know the Stations of the
We'll
Cross.
find a way.
So, yeah. Yeah, her outfit is very ridiculous.
Responsibility must be pretty hard for him.
I can only imagine. And under his wings you may seek refuge.
Okay. So it seems to me there's a secondary puzzle here that's going to involve the light. Or at the very least involve this cross.
Found something?
Yeah. Jesus takes up the cross. Help me lift this.
And so it's just
Actually worked.
a mechanism. Interesting. Very Indiana Jones-like. We could definitely have used more puzzles like this leading to tombs instead of simplistic tombs that have simplistic
Looks
puzzles.
Like a long way down. Let's see where this leads.
No suggestion of getting a rope when you're literally in the city. You could have just said, hey guys, we found something. Can you bring a ladder, bring a rope? They're doing construction already.
Station 2. Jesus falls the first time.
So they're just
There's
going to
an
have us
inscription here.
do the entire stations. I guess we're
Lucem habitus.
in for a...
While you have the light.
You're going to just
You
learn.
have to use the light beam to follow the Stations of the Cross.
Wow. It does kind of feel like this potentially could be close to the end of the game. We've only once moved these carts before.
That did it.
There's a lot of different textures and models in this room that we haven't seen anywhere else in the game. Feels like.
I wouldn't want to be buried in here. My head tossed behind a cross somewhere.
Feels like Jonah is potentially going to die.
Walk while you have the light. So that
They
the
teased that
darkness may
Jonah
not
would have died
overtake you,
before this section.
or a threat.
Oh shoot, I wasn't paying attention to what she just said.
This looks like the Virgin Mary.
Station 3. Jesus meets his mother.
The mirror looks dusty.
I suspect this is going to be fairly easy to solve. Although, what are you supposed to do to clean off a dusty mirror?
I'll give you a boost.
Just talk to the guy, I guess. For the idea of Lara Croft always screwing up and being angry and seeking vengeance, it doesn't make a lot of sense that Jonah is still around and involved. He should have probably died in the plane crash at the beginning of the game when they first teased his death.
What happened to these people?
It looks like the light activated something.
No choice whether you want to activate it or not.
Laura! Are you alright? You're lucky it was a little rusted.
This must be Station 4.
Yeah.
Let's have a look at these frescoes.
The idea that light just activates items
Have to use
is
the light beam to follow the Stations of the Cross.
kind of silly. They're obviously not going to explain it. I'd almost believe it if the big reveal here is that Jonah died at the very beginning of the game, and you've just been hallucinating him the rest of the game. He hasn't integrated or interacted with too many people other than Abigail.
Have to use the light beam to follow the Stations of the Cross. It looks like he's accepting the cross here.
This is just unfair at this point because they gave us that item, but how would we even figure it out? Like, we would have to cycle through all of this and figure out where we're looking, like for the fourth station of the cross and that pamphlet that was handed to us in the story. Remember, this game said it was created by people who are of multiple beliefs and ethnic diversity, and please don't cancel culture us at the beginning of the game. Well, I would have to say at this point, there's room for complaint, not really cancel culture, in that clearly there was at least a couple of people here that had a strong understanding of the Stations of the Cross and expected other people to understand that. And yeah, if you're not Catholic, if you're not Christian, if you're a Protestant, you're unlikely to have these memorized. And frankly, in Catholicism, there's just a lot of that in general, where there's a lot of cataclysm type stuff you have to memorize. Alright, here it is. It's under Miracle Mission, a completed quest.
Strange, there are only 7 stations. This must be based on an older tradition. Jesus takes up the cross, falls the first time, meets his mother. Then Veronica wipes his face before he falls the second time. Then he is crucified and finally entombed.
So we're looking for Veronica wiping her face. Veronica, a character I have no idea who that even is. Like I've never heard of a Veronica character.
Look, someone else got close. He wasn't as lucky. Have to use a light beam to follow the Stations of the Cross. There's a woman in this one.
So there's a woman in that one. That's all the hint you're gonna get. And your senses and all of that's just...
These people look like they were tortured. Up in the ceiling.
I don't think this was just a crypt.
Now, I did speculate at some point we were going to just see effects of slavery and torture happening in this mission. So, seems like you would just die if you did this wrong, but maybe you don't actually have an option to do it wrong.
Station 5. Jesus falls a second time.
It's a very interesting cinematic sequence compared to the incredibly boring cinematic sequences we've had up until this point. And we're crawling through an actual, like, cross brick layout.
Laura, is that what I think it is?
The Stations of the Cross again.
But with mummies. Isn't this sacrilegious?
Not necessarily. They could have been paying the ultimate homage.
Or they were just sick.
This must be Station 6. Have to use the light beam to follow the stations of the cross.
Looks like a church. These ones are posed like monks.
Uh-huh.
This feels incredibly Hannibal Lecter grotesque, if you've ever seen the Hannibal
Have
TV
to use the
show.
light beam to follow the stations of the cross.
So Lopez staged the whole crucifixion of mummies. Seems sacrilegious.
Have to use the
Guess
light
this is
beam
a
to
sect
follow
from
the
the
stations of the cross.
And the hints here certainly aren't helping much. Okay.
This is disgusting. I'm glad I wasn't around when Lopez was.
So the question here is, are we supposed to be doing the last two, or are we supposed to be doing all of them starting at the beginning again?
Do not fear those who kill the body,
Carrying him.
but are unable to kill the soul. Is that meant for us?
Don't let her lifting him.
Let's do this.
She's wiping his face, I think. Jesus, nailed to the cross.
That would be the next one.
I think he's taking up the cross. He's carrying the cross.
Okay, so the first one would be this one. Okay. So how do we get the light over here?
Have to use the light beam
To
to follow the stations of the
reflect.
cross.
What's going to happen if we fail? I guess I'm supposed to be doing this. I just hope and see if we die. Yeah. So that was him being nailed to the cross as the next step, next station.
He's carrying the cross. I think he's taking up the cross. Jesus, nailed to the cross.
I guess nailed to the cross is the next part here. Of course, the problem here is it seems like you would just have to skip. I guess that makes sense though, since you are only locking in your decision by pressing the button here. So he was lifted up on the cross, and then he was nailed to the cross, from the looks of it. Or he was just nailed to the cross twice. We've never gotten any explanation as to why the silver box, like, is magical in any way, or why it's important in any way. They really are very roughly trying to connect.
Him in and then bang.
No witnesses.
That's a nicely animated skull. Too realistic for the kind of colorful, cartoony look of Lara Croft and Jonah. Which really just goes to highlight, even with the best of graphics, even now, games never can really cross that line and feel real.
The box of Isha.
Now would be the time for Trinity to appear.
Only the hands of the righteous one may seize destiny from mine.
I guess it's you then.
Noticeably, this tomb doesn't feel like it's trying to make a chosen one prove themselves, other than perhaps proving their understanding of Catholic
All to keep this box from Trinity.
And the people
dogma.
of Yeti. He was totally consumed by it.
I wouldn't see a reason why you wouldn't just say, Jonah, take it. You're more righteous than me. So what is she gonna do with the box now? Just put it in her inventory? And then we get the achievement sound effect, disrupting everything. And Jonah, we're just assuming he's going to be fine. Yeah, so she's just put the silver box in her inventory. It doesn't seem like it's on her belt in this outfit. It doesn't seem like they would have bothered to animate the whole silver box on every single outfit that's available. This might be a sequence where some of our equipment is disabled. Otherwise, this is just a action sequence to be gory and grotesque and put you in a different spot. But arguably it's too slow of a sequence like that, where I would have preferred it just to be a water slide where you ended up somewhere else. And finally Trinity shows back up.
Where is she?
I don't know.
I just need the box.
So once again, is he going to potentially die for a third time in this game?
I guess we're done here.
Giving up really easily as far as potentially the end of the world. It's a shame she doesn't have dynamite or something to blow up the box or threaten the box with. Of course, if this is a hallucination and Jonah has been dead the whole time, then she's straight up giving the box
Release him, and I will give you the box.
for no reason.
Lara, what are you doing?
I've lost enough people.
Of course, this also could be a hallucination as far as the box making her see what she wants, or testing her.
I know you have. Your father was brilliant.
He was taken from me before I could know.
He was my friend. But he was obsessed, relentless.
You didn't know him.
He refused to see the potential for destruction in his work. He had to be stopped.
You had him killed.
He was going to lead the public to buy Yeti. Everything I love, everything I fought for. My world would have been destroyed.
And what about my world?
You can't think it's the same.
It is to a 9-year-old girl. I was a child.
There was too much at stake.
This
An
audio is
entire
very
civilization,
echoey.
Hundreds of years of independence, thousands of lives. I had no choice.
There's always a choice!
Remember, this game has different levels of range, dynamic range in the audio.
It's not too late.
And the audio sometimes messes up depending on that
And restore the
for your setup, personal audio setup.
No. The threat must be removed.
You're a low, selfish, murdering coward.
And you, Lara? How many lives have you ended? Hmm? In pursuit of what?
This revelation also just instills a lack of importance around the first game, and in particular, but the second game also, because all the second game really introduces is the idea of Trinity, and maybe that the father had worked on Trinity. She doesn't keep the gun. Always keep the gun. Even if you can't use it, keep it away from other people. So we may finally be getting what I was hoping we would see, which is that the whole mission area will potentially turn into...
Is that Rourke running past just now? Yeah. Think we should call him? Hell no. If there's any change in our status, he'll tell us.
Spanish Jesuit missionary Andres Lopez, a member of Trinity,
Didn't
was
mean to
dispatched
see that.
find and retrieve the silver box of E-shell rumored to be in Paititi. Instead of bringing the box back to the Trinity High Council, he confessed the theft to his old friend, the Emperor of Paititi, Sinchichika, Unuratu's ancestor. Together they entered into a plot to hide the box from Trinity. Lopez went west of Paititi and founded the mission of San Juan, leaving a path of clues stretching back to Cozumel for Sinchichika's descendants to follow when the time came. But while building the mission and the deadly crypts below, the box's power corrupted Lopez's mind. He came to believe that no one was worthy of the power of the sun. He died alone in the dark, consumed by the power of the box. Soon after, disease severely wiped out the population of Paititi, taking Sinchichika and knowledge of the path of the clues that led to the silver box with it.
So once again, just a big speed bump. So yeah, remember this audio has this dynamic range, and I have it on mid, but that cutscene in particular definitely felt very echoey and not as dynamic as it should be. And you really shouldn't be letting the game player decide how the audio stands. Like there's a difference between generic, I want to be at 1080p, I want to have the highest performance, whatever you classify as the highest performance in graphics, and potentially letting a player on accident ruin their experience or severely destroy their experience by changing so many different settings. Like there's too many settings here for any game. Well, it might make sense to adjust them. The default setting on this was not mid anyways. I think it was going for a home theater dynamic range, and arguably maybe it should just be at low TV speakers. And so we also have this speed bump while we're having a whole action sequence here.
A volcano. What next? Commander Rourke?
Keep this channel clear.
But sir, we're hearing disruption to our northwest.
The situation is being handled. I say
So there's
again,
just like
keep
4
this channel
people.
clear. Rourke out.
We're just waiting. And that didn't work, so
Just us now.
You're almost certainly never going to be able to do a stealth kill and not be in the hunter vision mode. But these hunter vision modes need to go by default. There needs to be a new way to interact with that, to say maybe when something is particularly close and you can interact with it, you get a little bit of a glow on it, but not having to call it up with the right trigger. I have no idea what the real move on that stealth section was, but I imagine it was supposed to be wait until just one of them was not visible and take them out and then curl around for more of that. Apparently I don't have enough to make whatever that is. Look how your shotgun just appears and disappears. Let's see. Do I have enough? Make that? No. So it does seem to me like we're short on bullets. But none of that really is going to matter. Where are we on the map? We're weirdly, I think, kind of in an area we hadn't been before, because we were over here, and so then the question really is going to come down to, are we going to stealth our way back into the village and find the village overrun with Trinity, or are we moving the story forward to the linear path, which it looks like that's what it's going to do. It doesn't look like there's any collectibles or anything to deal with. You can kind of see how these reset points are needed as far as a stealth section. Otherwise, you're going to run into problems.
It was chaos in there, obviously. But this is Croft. There was something more important to worry about. Please, 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 try to come through here.
Okay. Seems to me like the move
No way out of this,
is to get this. Seems to me like I could potentially shoot somebody and they could start freaking
These
out.
people just don't give up. Jesus, you look like shit.
And we'll just see how that plays out. And that seems to have gotten rid of two of these. I can't really crawl around here.
You don't look so good.
Meanwhile, we've got one more character. Just in that stealth sequence. And you're just waiting for her to refill her health.
Keep your head down. I'm on my way.
Now, remember, there's a lot of other things you potentially could have done here in this whole process. There's something that looks like that's that's clipped through the ground, I guess. I could have planted bombs on the people, but you really would need a lot of extra time to pull that off. I could have potentially exploded this barrel. Now I'm just collecting resources to use at some future date. Shrapnel grenades. Gas tanks. So this looks like this might be just on the other side of the graveyard where there was that door. We're just trying to get as much resources and bullets off of the characters. Mud patch to cover yourself in mud if you needed to. There's probably not any real collectibles here. All those bullets kind of useless. Let's just look upward and see if we see anything more. Interesting, why did the audio pick back up? Maybe there's an enemy somewhere on the side. Like, it definitely feels like you were supposed to get up there and do the hang them from their head stealth kill. But nope. Didn't happen.
You heard the commander. Let's go hunting.
The whole thermal goggles have been forgotten about. Okay.
Something's off in that area.
This potentially is just going to be
Oh, I don't like this.
one of those sequences where you're just going to stealth kill multiple people.
Hey, did you know there's still rum in some of these barrels? For Christ's sake, Morgan, do your job.
That's kind of funny, interesting dialogue. What is making somebody visible versus invisible is questionable. Okay. So I think the move here is probably to scramble into this.
Alright, let's go. I'll take point. I don't see any.
See, that guy's not getting very close. Yet they seem all very visible.
Holy shit! I was just talking to him. Everybody, Morgan's missing. Find him now.
So there's like one guy over this way that's they've all just decided to move over there. Can I get close enough to stealth kill that guy? No.
Let's switch.
See, this is really what you would have wanted to see more of, is that there would have been a lot more maneuvering back and forth and stealthing. That being said, I don't think the game's going to fully let you handle that. So our best bet is probably to fear toxin that guy. And that'll take out hopefully at least 3 people. was hoping for a double kill there. Let's just generally shoot people. I think that's the whole area done. From the sounds of the music, that seems to be the case. Oh, well. Collect all the salvage because we need it if we're going to upgrade everything, although do we really need to upgrade everything? That's the real question. In a sequence like this, you would pretty much have to assume that there aren't any collectibles. And maybe there's room for improvement in a game like this where there would be collectibles and you would come back to this section later once it is emptied out or after you'd emptied it out. We are still very much just in sense mode. Come on, stop looking for items to pick up and interact with. I don't think we could climb up here. Whoops. That is not what I meant to do. Still don't have the resources to craft everything we would like to craft. Go ahead and craft some arrows. Kind of assume we're going for a boss fight, so let's go with a shotgun here.
Cardinal 6, we've got visual on Croft. He's at the distillery. Deacon team, deploy. Deacon's on the ground, Commander.
The Cardinals, the Deacons, all the jargon.
Let's get her.
Would have made a lot of sense to just say Helicopter 6. We're getting dangerous things being shot at us. Let's go ahead with a faster gun. The real problem here, I guess, would be if you had really weak guns. If you had not upgraded anything at all. I have no idea why they're even talking about mud-covered walls.
I'm in a chopper. I've got a pilot.
What?
Hurry.
I've forgotten I can just hold down the X button. So speed bump once again to find bullets, I guess, more than anything. But yeah, it wouldn't hurt to try and grab some of these resources. I think he's in that chopper, so blowing it up would probably be a mistake. It just may just fly us to a whole nother area. These guys have a lot of resources on them. But I definitely do feel like the game is neither improved nor sped up if we had more enemies attacking, and not in this gameplay style. If they were not so bullet spongy and you could just potentially shoot them once and they would die and then you would run to the next section. If they were more like zombies and less like actual heavily bulletproof armored soldiers, you could have more of them.
Jonah!
Here we have Abigail coming out of nowhere. I think that's her name.
I got it. I'm good.
What the hell were you thinking?
If I was you, it would have worked.
They might not get
Go.
Go, we got this.
So I don't know why we're actively chasing after them instead of taking care of Jonah. We're just protecting ourselves. They do have the silver box, I guess, so we're chasing after the silver box. So we've got a whole chase sequence of what looks like a mudslide coming out of nowhere. And obviously this is just the third chase sequence we've seen, where the idea, I guess, is that the earthquakes and the apocalypse is happening. We're getting what seems like more help here in the sense of flashing lights. That being said, they also just put a red explosive barrel on the right side as if that was a secondary path. Definitely feels like these are sections. Wow, that was unnatural jump there. These feel like these are very much just legacy from either the first game or the second game. Take your pick, whichever one actually had these. At a certain level, I guess this is the player trying to show off all of their skills. But the majority of your skills there were just pressing forward and tapping A. A couple of times I had to hit X to do a grapple swing. And all the visuals look very... The water looks oily and pearlescent, which maybe it has oil in it, which would explain that, but probably would have made more sense if it was either clear or muddy. And so she's knocked out once again. We're going to end up in a new area, which storyline breaking wise, it seems like you could just go back to the mission at any point. Costume storyline breaking, the costume also just feels weird.
How much longer to pay TT?
Almost there.
It'd be interesting, I guess, if Paitini had already been remade. It was totally different. That might be a way to do a time travel mechanic without actually doing a time travel mechanic or a story twist.
All the way back, as far as I can remember, it's always been them. I could have had a family. Everything could have been different.
Really just don't feel like Trinity has been set up well enough to be the main bad guy of this trilogy. So you can definitely see how potentially that entire act could have been cut. And we could have stayed in the hidden city in Paititi
Where's the box?
Amaru has
the whole
it.
time.
But the death of the sun draws near.
We'll get it back before he completes the ritual.
This will not be easy. We'll have to adjust the plan. Please, take your time to prepare yourself. We'll gather intelligence and fighters.
Thank you.
So this is going to put us back in the
Let me know if you need
into Paititi, which probably will put us back into the same outfit to do some more side quests. Let's see. I might as well just take these other missions from the mission givers. We're back to 46% completion. We had started freeing the rebels. I guess we might be in one of the different outfits if we choose. But obviously, there's a lot of stuff around this point that we didn't collect. So going back here without just fast traveling here might be a thing. Getting more resources, doing more missions, just wrapping everything up. I still would suspect that the final part of this game is in this location and that they are not doing anything here. Weirdly, you ended up in this river, which in no way connects to this river and would get you back to Paititi. You would have had to have gotten back on the land, crossed back over a long area, and then gotten into this river. And where did the boat come from? Who knows? It's another mission giver over here. Just a ton of stuff. None of it really connecting in any way to hunting. Our fluency on the language probably only goes to 100% if we collect every single mural and item. So, storyline wise, assuming that's what this percentage is, we were at 66% before. We are now at 75%, 3/4 of the way through the game. If that's not what they are talking about, the world map itself says 75%. So, and I would assume that that percentage of completion has to do with collectibles. So, we may very well be much closer to the end than 75%. There may only be an hour's worth of gameplay left as far as narration. And I kind of want to do the crypts. Yes. I'd say that much. But I mostly would want to look for tombs. I guess that's the question to ask here is how many challenge tombs or tombs have we missed overall in the world? Because, like, undoubtedly there's been a tomb that has been missed here. Although maybe not. Maybe it's just been crypts. We haven't missed any challenge tombs at all. But if we haven't missed any challenge tombs at all, shows kind of a better way to look at all of this, then how come we haven't unlocked the last of the abilities? I don't think we ever made it into this place either. Yeah, I guess I have to just... Yeah, here is a tomb labeled. See, when you zoom in, the percentage complete changes, but the number of things below is just whatever you're highlighting. Alright, so let's just start at the beginning of the game. Cozumel. We missed a treasure chest in Cozumel, which you'd have to fast travel back to it. Cozumel Caves, which I guess that was the very beginning of the game. So fast travel for 1 collectible here and 3 survival caches and 1 treasure chest. Then as far as tombs in Kwakilaku, we have 10 out of 10, but we're missing 1 crypt. As far as the Peruvian jungle, we are missing 1 crypt and 2 challenge tombs. So those are the 2 we've missed. So it does make a lot of sense to go back and get that. But weirdly, it says like there's 13 challenge tombs, unless I'm. Let's bring up the legend just to make sure I'm looking at the right icon. The challenge tombs are not what I was looking at. I was looking at murals, I guess. So there's 13 murals, which is quite a lot in this area. Okay, so let's start that again. Zoom out. Same thing for Cozumel. 1 tomb there. Already collected. 2 tombs there. Already collected. No tombs here. There are 2 tombs in the hidden city we haven't done. No tomb there. We've done the 2 tombs there. No tombs there. And then there's 1 tomb in the cenote that we missed. So there's 3 tombs remaining, and that seems like that would be directly in line with everything. So starting with the next episode, I think we'll try and get those tombs done. And we'll do the side quests, and we'll just see how far that really gets us. Then I think we're probably pretty close to the end of the game, like storyline wise, and for the amount of effort I want to put into the game. Noticeably, none of the outfits are particularly interesting. Let's see if we can come over here and look at this. And there weren't actually enough of them.
Has grown in such a short time.
So yeah, there's 1 tomb here, 1 tomb here, 1 tomb here. We would have to collect pretty much everything in the game. Let's just unlock that and see how that works. Aim left trigger at full draw, hold right trigger, and then zoom right stick over 2 separate enemies to lock. So that's how you get the ability to lock arrows, is just by buying the thing. So yeah, this tomb, and this tomb will give you some fairly significant quality of life improvement. Then you would have to grind through either hunting quite a lot of people or collecting quite a lot of all of the remainder of the collectibles to have enough skill points to unlock all of this. It's not enough for a New Game Plus, however. It's very noticeably going to be a case, if you did play as thoroughly as I have played, that you will have most, if not all, of your skills unlocked by the time the first game is done. First playthrough is done. And then getting upgrades, potentially here, is really not doing anything for the player. You're just getting different guns to play around with. And you would expect that upgrading equipment would give you XP. and then XP would give you skills, and that those two elements would overlap in a way to push you further down this idea of wanting to upgrade everything, even if you're not going to actually use the guns. Not a lot of different outfits as far as the custom outfits. So almost certainly at some point in development there was just this idea to abandon the outfits as far as them having beneficial benefits and in favor of DLC that just gives you classic Lara Croft outfits. Noticeably here though, all I can wear would be this one inside of the hidden city, and you spend a lot of time in the hidden city. I doubt we're going to get a 3rd level quiver upgrade or satchels upgrades. It just doesn't seem really that necessary. Alright, so let's just go ahead and save again. Just overwrite saving. I did want to experiment with this as far as if I wanted a flashlight to better see something. Like, I guess you could do the photo mode if you so cared to do that. It's nice when games have a photo mode, but NVIDIA kind of has this, I think it's called Ansel or Easel or something function that's probably just better to program that in. It'd be nice if there was like an open programming language like DirectX or something that would have a photo mode that was constantly getting updated regardless of what the game looks like. At a certain point you have to, though, several different faces you could go with, although we'd have to zoom in on Lara Croft. Yeah, pretty much if you have some kind of Unreal Engine or at least compatible engine, here is her happy, never seen actually in the game. A lot of these faces probably not going to be really used in the game. It'd be nice if these faces were used and she was way more emotive. Let's see, celebrating outfits, exalting outfits. Yeah, any game that has a engine would potentially let you control the camera, and if you can control the camera, then you can have a photo mode that's pretty great. If you don't have a compatible engine like the Unreal Engine, then like most of these poses too not really being used in the game. That seems very wasteful. Llama Croft. Muscle intensity. That seems to change absolutely nothing. Oh yeah, look how it's barely changing our musculature. Is it changing the face any? Nope. Muscles in the face not connected to the slider. Yeah, but it would be very nice if like DirectX, some kind of Twitter hashtag, which yeah, Twitter's on the verge of being dead here. Yep. But as far as actually trying to use a flashlight to see things, going to this photo mode is not that helpful. And in general, the photo mode is not that helpful for most players because you're just not going to play with it. You're not going to make a desktop icon of Lara Croft that is better than what Crystal Dynamics themselves could have just made and given off as a desktop icon, some artistic creation by an actual artist. It's a nice feature certainly to have, but it's not something that is worth putting any energy into. And I think that's one of the problems in general with the prettiness of things like ray tracing, is that they are nice features to have, but game developers have overly focused on them, while definitely dropping the ball as far as just the encounter and fighting gameplay mechanic in this game. The lack of cinematic action sequences. The tomb we just did doing the 7 Stations of the Cross, way better than any other tomb in the game, and there's just not enough tombs in the game. I'd kind of like twice as many tombs at the same length at minimum, if not several bigger tombs in this game. And yeah, they are otherwise wasting our time with collecting documents and collecting resources to stretch out the length of this game, which, in all fairness, my criticism of this game would be a lot less if this game was already over. If it was half the length, then I would have gone, oh well, that was a fairly short and sweet experience. They didn't drag it out. They weren't trying to make me craft upgrades to guns or upgrades to weapons, and they just told the story they wanted to tell and moved on. Of course, I do still have to say, wrapping up here, that I am obviously on the wrong side of the general populace's opinion for this game, because the storyline achievement I just got has been achieved by 47.5% of all players who played this game. Yes, I imagine a ton of people stopped playing the Tomb Raider reboot series after the first one, and then a ton more, I imagine, lost interest after the second one. But for the people that held on and actually bought Shadow of the Tomb Raider and wanted to see this trilogy through, they have held on remarkably high in the numbers. With that, that's going to be it for this recording. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want to support me further, there's some links down below in the description box. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.